Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Feeling Lighter pod. What are you laughing about over there in the beginning of this podcast, Lisa?
Hello,
everybody. I scared you, didn't I?
Kind of scared.
Oh, my God. Well, This is Dr. Lisa. I'm Coach Tyler, and we got another quote-unquote solo episode today, and we were wondering what we should do for a topic, and so we decided, hey, let's answer some of the most common questions that we get asked from people within our community, because these are questions that people need to hear the answers for, because if you go to traditional, methods of media and fitness and magazines and social media and all this stuff, you're going to get answers that are probably going to make you feel bad about yourself, probably going to demotivate you, and probably going to lead you astray. And so we want to make sure that you have the answers from us, because our goal is to give you information that makes you feel better in your body and about your body.
Yes.
So the first question, let's just dive right in, because we have 10 questions on here. It's going to take us a little while to get through them. So why does moving my body feel harder now? And how can I work with my body instead of against it? Why don't you take the first step on that one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do think it's important for people to understand that natural changes happen within our bodies. Yeah. There are things we cannot change. Like as we age, things will feel different. Yeah. Things will, we lose muscle mass, we lose bone density, we get stiffer. Our lifestyles shift and change, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to experience change, and I think there's beauty in embracing the change and not always fighting against it. Sometimes I think we want to keep things stuck in time. Like when I was 18 or when I was 25, it's like, well, you're not anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You can still maximize what you have in this space, and we can still, you can start or resume habits that help you maintain what you have, but you don't have to. I don't want people to ever utilize like a former version of themselves as like, this is the goal, I got to get back here. Like that is so unhealthy.
Happy you said that.
Yeah, it's a really unhealthy mindset, because what bodies are supposed to do is change. So, my advice would be to embrace the change and maximize what you have access to in the space that you're in now, and eliminate all the shame that comes with not being able to do what you used to do or not looking like you used to look, and just be okay with that. And conversely, sometimes people get into fitness or a new sport or hobby later in life, and they're doing things they didn't do in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, and that is accessible and available to you as well. So just keep an open mind about that. But the reason your body is not moving the way it used to is because in some ways it's not necessarily supposed to. That's just the reality. So.
I'm so happy you said that. You said everything I was thinking, but I want to share my own personal experience with this, because if we compare our current selves to our past selves, we are always going to likely be miserable.
100%.
And I was someone who, wasn't in great shape, and then worked my butt off, and then got into the quote unquote great shape, and then got injured. And for years, I would keep telling myself, I want to get back to the past. I want to get back to the past. And after a decade or so of that, you start to recognize you're always chasing something that was in the past that doesn't exist. And you're always feeling bad about it and trying to use that as fuel to create motivation. And I think people need to accept the reality that as we age, we aren't going to have the same capabilities and capacity as we did when we are younger. Yeah. Does that mean we can't try to increase the longevity of our ability to move? Does that mean we can't work on ourselves in a way that might help us feel like things are easier in the future? No, absolutely not. Right. But does it mean that we're going to be 100 years old and way more fit and strong and flexible than when we were 20? Like, probably not, right? So first, embrace the reality that you're aging. Don't live in the past. Live in where you are right now, because that's all you've really got. Yeah. Show up for yourself today. And if you want to work with your body instead of against it, try to cultivate gratitude for what your body can do right now. And then when you work on it by doing a movement practice or stretching or movement snacks or just taking good care of yourself, tell yourself that you're grateful for the work that you've done. Yeah. So that way you're not working against yourself. Absolutely. You're really working with it. So I really think people need to let go of that and just really focus on, where am I at right this moment? What can I do right this moment to show up for myself so I can feel better?
Absolutely.
Right? Cool. All right. This is a big one. I'm tired all the time. Oof. Is movement still possible when energy feels low?
You want to start with this?
Sure. I'll go with that one. I think that this one really hits from an all or nothing mentality and a perfectionist mentality, right? And there's a lot of people out there. I'm actually surprised I'm so super surprised when we talk to our people in the community how many people have that all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
So if you've ever been stuck in black or white thinking, meaning, oh, I don't have 60 minutes, so I might as well do nothing. Or maybe even I don't have 30 minutes, so I might as well do nothing. I think we have to realize that even if we're tired, there's two things we can do. One, we can give ourselves grace and we can rest so we're no longer tired.
Yeah.
If we're tired all the time, that's usually a pretty good sign that you need to look at your life and say, what am I doing that isn't actually valuable to me?
Yeah.
And is my health and my own self-care more valuable than that? And if it is, you got to carve out stuff that's not serving you, and you got to bring stuff in that is serving you. And then when you actually do get started with the routine, it's not about pushing yourself to the limits, pumping your heart rate, burning calories, pushing to exhaustion. If you're in this state, a great workout program for you is one where you do it for however much time you have. Maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's 30 minutes, and you walk away feeling better and more energized than when you started, because that can actually happen.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend people stay away from, I'm exhausted, so now I've got to add something that's going to drain me more, right? Take the drains off your plate and add something to your life that gives you energy and makes you feel good. Build some reps and some wins that way. And then you'll build energy and capacity, and you can start making it harder on yourself over time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also, when someone says like, I'm always tired, I can relate to this. I've had points in my life where I was exhausted most of the time. Good night's sleep, wake up tired. You know, take a nap, still tired. So I tell people to start with like an inventory of what's going on. Are you sleeping at night?
Yeah.
Are you getting restful sleep at night? Are you overexerting yourself? Are you doing too much? You know, like you said, are there too many things on your plate? Are you overwhelmed?
Managing stress.
Yeah, you know, have you seen your doctor in the last year or two? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes there's things to look at that, you know, the workout is great, will be wonderful for you. You're right. You'll get a boost of energy and adrenaline. But if there's something medically happening, you need to get that addressed first. So, you know, really looking at our wellness and looking at our fitness and our health from a total person perspective. Like, we are more than one thing. We are more than a body with bones and muscles and nerves. Like, there's organs, there's things that we have to address, there's our mental health. So, you know, figure out the underlying cause, and then you can build from there. But 100%, I think it's really important to honor our energy and to take, you know, short workouts and little breaks, and every minute counts. If you do 60 seconds of something because you're just too tired to do anything else, that is better than doing nothing at all, you know? And it's absolutely okay to rest, and there's no shame around that. But, you know, your body, if your body is always exhausted, you need to, you know, understand that as your body communicating something to you. And so what is it saying, and how can you address it in the most kind and compassionate and consistent way possible?
Totally. And just a shameless plug here. I'm just going to throw a shameless plug out. I think that if you're confused as to what you should be doing when you're exhausted, one of the things that we built into our WeShape Coach, which is our algorithmic based software that can assemble a personalized follow-along workout for you, is instead of just giving you a workout each day, we actually ask you, how did you sleep? How does your body feel? And how much time do you have? And based on those answers, you're going to get one of, I think, 150 different routines that are assembled together based on what you're telling us. So if you're exhausted and your body's not feeling good, you're going to get a lot of stretches and gentle movements that you'll walk away from that routine feeling really good, right? So it's really important to pay attention to the reality that when we're feeling burned out, we should not be doing high intensity movements or movements that tax the energy systems of the body. We should be doing things that serve us. So if you want to give that a shot, you're not currently a WeShape member, go check it out, WeShape.com. You can try it for free. Okay, so next question. How do I stay motivated when life keeps getting in the way? When life keeps lifing?
Life is lifing. So motivation, we talk about this a lot, right? And I think sometimes it's a bit of a misnomer. I think that sometimes we believe that we are supposed to be super pumped to do our workout today. And it's like saying every meal I make is going to taste so delicious, I can't wait to eat it. Like, no, sometimes you just, you know, it's a frozen pizza. Sometimes it's just like, I got to grab something because I'm on my way somewhere. So It's the same idea with your workouts. I don't think you're going to be stoked every single time it's time to work out, and that's okay. So I like for us to approach, consistency with our movement from the same sort of mindset that we do, like we talk about our hygiene. Like, I'm going to brush my teeth because I want my teeth to be clean and healthy, and I don't want to have cavities and gingivitis. So we move because we want to take good care of our bodies. We want to maintain our range of motion, flexibility, our strength, bone density, whatever, and we want to improve our quality of life. So there is an underlying meaningful why that inspires you to consistently move. That doesn't mean you're not going to have days where you skip it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not going to have days where you completely modify your routine because you're just not feeling it. Sometimes lacking in motivation is about a need to switch things up.
Yeah.
Maybe you're bored. Like, maybe you're bored with your same routine. Maybe you need to change your environment, get outside of the house, do the workout with a friend, layer it with some other meaningful activity. Like, don't be afraid to switch it up, and don't panic because you're not feeling your motivation. And again, life gets in the way, but we need to make movement something that fits into our lives. We don't have to carve out a whole hour to go here and wear this outfit and do this thing. We can do 5 minutes in the morning. We can do 5 minutes in the afternoon, 10 or 15 minutes before bed. It doesn't need to look like this perfectly carved out thing. We can just make it work within our lives, and then we're not trying to make movement fit into some space that, it's like a square peg in a round hole, right? We're just doing it throughout our lives. It's a part of what we do. It's a part of how we engage in the world. So, take some of the pressure off yourself. Recognize you can't be super duper excited and motivated every single time you do a workout, and then be willing to switch it up a little bit and do movement in little sprinkles. That's my advice.
Yeah, I love that. And I think sometimes when people ask this question, how do I stay motivated? I think what they're really asking is, how do I deal with the reality that I don't want to do this because I'm anxious that it's going to be hard and it's going to take away from my time that I have.
Great point.
And I think that if we can just reframe it away from making a mountain out of a molehill, which is what most people do. I got to do a workout, it's going to be hard, and then I got to shower. Like, all these things come in their mind. And it's all these resistance points that allow us to say, I'll just skip taking care of my body, right? I think instead of doing that, what if we just said something like, press play? Just press play, do the warm up, and then call it a day if you don't feel like you want to go any further.
Right.
And I think oftentimes when we do that, when we just take the goal and make it really small, you don't need that much motivation to open up an app and press play on a workout, right? And then you're doing the warm ups and stuff, and you're like, this is pretty easy, right? So now you're actually fortifying the opposite of what your fear is.
Right.
And then at that point, like, I really don't care if you want to close the workout. Like, you won the day if you did that, right?
Did that.
And if you keep doing the workout, which I think at least half the people are probably going to end up finishing it, afterwards, you're going to feel so much better.
Yeah.
And that's the motivation feedback loop that people need to get. They need to get the feedback loop of, I'm not having anxiety to do this thing. It's like, I'm going to do this to just take care of myself. I feel good after. I'm going to do this to take care of myself. I feel good after.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this to take care of myself, and I feel good after. We get enough reps of that, all of a sudden, the resistance, which is what you're perceiving as not having motivation, starts to go away.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, this just becomes what you do, right? Like, I don't have to tell you to brush your teeth, like you said, right? You just do it because you want to take care of yourself. And so hopefully if you can make it much smaller of a goal, like just get started, just do a warm up, I think that people will find that you don't really need as much motivation as you think.
Yeah.
You just need to take baby action steps, and they usually carry themselves through it.
Yeah, we're not climbing a mountain. You
No.
know, it's just, And I do that same thing, like the 5-minute rule. It's like 5 minutes, just set a timer for 5 minutes. You're going to move for 5 minutes. And then when your 5 minutes are up, you can decide, I don't want to do anything else. Or you can be like, you know what, let me do 5 more minutes and see what that feels like.
I love that.
It's just a way to kind of, I don't want to say trick your brain, but it's just a way to make this, like you said, more manageable chunks of effort. So you don't need a whole lot of motivation. It's just 5 minutes.
Yeah, I love that. All right, number 4, I'm afraid to move because I don't want to get hurt. How do I build confidence again? Well, I'm going to jump in right here because about a little over a year ago, I was walking up this big flight of stairs, and I had just injured my knee again a couple months prior to it. Later, I found out I had torn my new ACL that I'd gotten from the last surgery. But I was in a lot of pain, and I remember my internal talk was like, come on, you pussy, your knee, let's go. And I had this moment of like, wait a second. What if I had a kid that was struggling, and I talked to them the way that I was talking to my knee? And that internal self-talk, it builds a lack of confidence in your capabilities, and it builds a lot of internal cynicism that works against you actually being able to show up for yourself. And I think that oftentimes people don't realize how much fear they have stuck in their body after an injury, and they're either just downright afraid to do anything, or they're stuck in this phase of like criticizing it because it's not doing what it should do.
Yeah.
And I think in order to get out of that loop and start being able to move in a way that you don't experience that fear, is you have to break down what it is that you want to be able to do into chunks that you can manage, smaller chunks that you can manage. So as an example, if you hurt your knee and standing up from a chair is too hard for you, well then stand up from a chair with support with your arms, or put some pillows underneath your butt and lift the height of your body and learn how to stand up from a chair from there. And what'll happen is, once you do it in a range of motion that feels good and safe, then you can increase the difficulty of the movement over time, and your body will gradually feel safe. And I think that's a really powerful technique that people don't use. They just want to, I hurt my knee, I'm going to go back to doing squats again, or running or something like that, right? We have to start with the baby steps and build confidence along the way, right?
Sure.
It's like literally like exposure therapy. You got to do a little bit of it, and then over time, your body gets desensitized and you can do a little bit more of it. Yeah. Another thing to consider is just that internal dialogue. I found that when I am feeling fear, like walking down the stairs after a knee injury or something like that, you feel like those flinches, those things that are happening. Yeah. What I like to do is talk to my knee now. This practitioner told me to do this. She said, talk to your knee. I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And she's like, okay, I'll show you. She's like, right knee, you are struggling right now, but I love you and you will heal, and we're here to go as slow as you need. Yeah. And the moment I started talking to myself like that, it changed the way I treated my movement, because now I wasn't going to like just barrel down the stairs and complain and get frustrated. It was going to, I'm going to take time with each step and pay really close attention to how this feels and treat it as if it was that child walking behind me that was really struggling, and really help lift it up instead of tear it down.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of self-compassion. Yeah. And it makes me smile. One thing you mentioned that I think is important to highlight, you got that strategy from a practitioner. Yeah. From someone, in the healthcare system who could help you heal. And I really think that we cannot overstate the significance of working with professionals. Yeah. Because being injured and having the experience and the memory and the trauma of an injury is real.
That's very real.
And sometimes it is very hard to just get over that yourself. I know many people who hurt themselves and they're just like, I'm just going to figure it out. And that's fine. But for most of us, there is no shame, and it's probably very wise to work with a healthcare practitioner, to work with a physical therapist, to work with someone who understands the body and who hears you and listens to you and respects you, and who can help you get over the hump. I always tell my patients, like, we're doing this in a safe and protective environment. I work with people who have fallen before and broken a bone, and now the floor is the scariest place in the world to them. Yeah. So guess what we're doing? We're getting on the floor, but you're doing it in my clinic with a thick mat, a table, assistive devices, and me, right? So it's not like you're just on the floor at home figuring it out on your own. Most people, I would almost advise that to no one, right? Yeah. So you're in a safe environment where we can work on the skills and the steps and the pieces of that activity so that you can regain your confidence. And that's the point. Regaining your confidence by actual practice in a safe space with all the supports that you need.
That's good.
And that will get better. You will feel better over time, but it is a process. So everything that Tyler said, but it's also consider doing this new thing with a professional, because then you'll have the support that you need.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, number 5. I'm frustrated that I'm doing everything right and still don't feel at home in my body. Oh, what now? What now, Lisa?
That's a tough one. I think this leans into the space of, how we try to separate the mind from the body. This is a great example of the connection, right? Our mind and our body, we're one person. So, first of all, this concept of I've done everything right.
Yeah. It's right here, too, the air quotes on the word right.
Air quotes. Yeah. Because what does that even mean? What does that even mean? There are many right paths, is what I'll say, right? There are many things we could be doing. We choose what feels best to us in that moment, but maybe it isn't what's best for us. So you have the opportunity to back up and start over. That's number 1. Feeling at home in your body is a practice that, in my opinion, requires a lot of deep inner work that you can probably pursue by yourself, but you could also pursue better with someone, again, who's a professional and coaches in that area. But the key is to, wherever you are, if your body looks different than it used to, if it feels different than it used to, if the capabilities are different, you can still learn how to get into a space where you are at peace with what is. And that is not easy. I won't say it like, you're going to do that on Sunday and on Monday you're fine. Like that is a process, because it requires a lot of consideration for, what you thought you would be, or how you thought you would look, like that. There's a grieving process, right? Yeah, all these expectations. So this is not simple. This is something, when I coach clients on body image stuff, I'm always like, are you seeing a mental health therapist? Because, there's areas that you probably need to get into that I won't necessarily be qualified for, because this part of the process is about taking away those old expectations and making peace with what is, and then building from there. So, this is probably the toughest question I think we have, because it's not to me, a cookie cutter, one size fits all, just do this thing and you'll have it. Like, you're going to have to do some work here. It's a friggin' journey, and I don't know that it ever ends, but you can definitely get a lot better for sure.
I feel like for people who don't feel at home in their bodies and they feel like they're doing everything right, this can be boiled down to one word that will help them turn it around. And it's an easy to conceptualize, but hard to actually do. Mm-hmm. And the word I keep thinking about is acceptance.
Yeah.
Right. And when we think to ourselves, I don't feel at home in my body, it's kind of similar to saying, I don't feel good in my body. Yeah. I don't like my body. I don't like it here. It's like it's a negative association with what you think your expectations should be. Mm-hmm. And when we argue with expectations that aren't real, we just create so much hell for ourselves.
Yeah, we do.
And so, again, just like you said, coming to the present moment, accepting yourself each day as best you can. And over time, that process gets easier. Yeah. And I think if you can accept that, you start to build more gratitude for who you are right now. Mm-hmm. And then that gratitude becomes, I feel at home in my body, and I feel at home in myself again.
And then there's a practice beyond that, right? I think about, what do you do when you don't feel at home in your home, in your space?
Yeah, tidy it up, change it up.
Right?
Yeah.
You do some things differently. You create more comfort. You create more beauty. You create more joy. Maybe you invite people over. You do things to make it kinder to you and more warm. And that's kind of how we need to treat our bodies. And a lot of times we're very, very mean to our bodies. So sometimes it's just about inviting that kindness and that warmth back in so that we can start to feel at home.
I love that. Okay, number 6, why do I beat myself up when I miss a workout? I mean, this kind of goes straight into what we were just talking about. And I think that when you have expectations of yourself, you create a lot of opportunities for you to feel frustrated with yourself and label yourself in ways that aren't helpful. Now, does this mean you shouldn't hold yourself to a standard or have values? No. But I think that if we can say to ourselves, my value is to care for myself, and that means each day I'm going to show up and do my best to care for myself. Well, guess what? You're going to get really far with that, and you're not going to feel bad. You're not going to beat yourself up. You're going to have a fairly good life, at least in terms of how you perceive yourself. But if you're like, I'm going to work out Monday through Friday every single day, and then Tuesday gets skipped, and then you beat yourself up, and you think that's going to cultivate motivation to continue, to me, it's just fortifying negative self-worth and negative self-image, which then makes you not feel valuable enough to be taken care of. And then what happens? We end up taking one step forward, doing a routine, bailing out, and taking one step backwards. And we get stuck in that cycle over and over again for like decades or our entire lives, and we never actually get anywhere. And I think it's so much due to this self-criticism. And I'm not saying this is easy. I know these concepts and these questions are hard, but I think the big thing is when you notice yourself beating yourself up, like first step in anything when it comes to mind shifts is awareness. Like, I see that this is happening. Second step, stop, right? Take some deep breaths. And if you just do that, you're already winning. And if you want to take it one more step, you can do some inquiry around that. Ask the question, like, why am I beating myself up so bad? Like, I can take a day off, right? Or rewrite the belief that's happening there. Like, if I take a day off, then I'll never get to this. Well, and just rewrite it. It's okay to take a day off. You're doing a great job. You know?
It is. I agree. I'm going to blame someone here for the reason you feel this way. I'm going to blame diet culture.
All right.
Because we internalize these messages of never miss a Monday, no pain, no gain, don't skip a workout, all of the stupid stuff. And I was this person for so many years, so I can totally relate. It made sense to beat yourself up when you missed a workout, because that was the example of tough love.
Yeah.
If you're hard on yourself, you're going to get your ass together and do what you need to do. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I don't feel good when I'm mean to myself. And I don't, it's kind of the same idea with like the boot camp workouts where the instructor's yelling in your ear and calling you names. And some people are like, yeah, I just need that to get off my ass. And I'm like, no, nothing about that feels good. Like, I don't feel closer to myself or more in touch with myself, or like none of it. It's all negative. So I think that we have to reframe our motivation to positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement. And positive reinforcement would be, oh, I set a goal of working out 4 days this week and I did 3. That's really good. Like, maybe next week I'll get up to the 4.
Yeah.
Or I set a goal this week of working out 4 days and I only did 2. Okay, that's cool. At least I did 2. Maybe next week it'll be 3. Like, being kind to yourself is like, I can set a goal and not meet it every week and still be kind and be like, okay. And then maybe after some time, like, gosh, I'm never really meeting this goal. Maybe I should just lower the bar a little bit so that I do experience that win. So it's 3 days a week now and I'm hitting it, 50% of the time. That's awesome. Like, that's what kindness and self-compassion look like when you're trying to set goals and meet markers versus like just kicking your own ass because you don't, hit the target. So diet culture did this. Don't feel any shame or guilt about it. It's not your fault. And let's just reframe.
Totally. I would expand that too to diet culture, influencers in the fitness industry, because one thing that I've become keenly aware of is that I think there's a narrative out there that you have to be incredibly hard on yourself in order to cultivate the discipline necessary to achieve, whatever body you want, right? And so the people who rise in social media are the ones who have the idealized body and then present as like, you've got to do this and you've got to do that and you've got to do this and you've got to do that. And of course, what are we doing? We're comparing ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we compare ourselves, we are creating misery for ourselves. And at the end of the day, what's really surprising to me is when I get to talk to those people, and I've been one of those people, you start to realize that most of them are pretty miserable on the inside because
100%.
all they do is practice relentless self-deprecation to drive them to do the things that they want to do. And like you said, there's a different path. You don't have to be extrinsically motivated by shaming and guilting yourself because you're not like someone else or the way that you think you should be. You can be intrinsically motivated by the desire to care for yourself because you feel inherently worthy, right? And I think that it is a harder path to do that initially because it's so much easier to look at yourself in the mirror and judge yourself and use that as fuel for motivation, but it doesn't work. It only works for the people at the very top who are mean enough to themselves that they've created long enough motivation to get to where they are. But that's not where most people need to be. Most people seem to wake up and say, what can I do for myself today to do a little bit of self-care?
Yeah.
That's it. Real simple. Okay, so 7, can exercise actually reduce my stress? Or is this just another thing on my to-do list?
I mean, it can be another thing on your to-do list, but absolutely exercise can reduce your stress. But it's about dosing in a way that makes sense for you.
Yeah.
If you're creating a routine of fitness that is like, oh, I have to do this every single day for 60 minutes, and then that's stress. Like, that's not fun. Or if you're like, I find this increasing stress sometimes is like, I'm gonna run cardio, do cardio every day for an hour and a half. Like that is a lot of stress on your body in many cases. But yes, exercise is a great venue for reducing stress in your life. It is a great way to take out some of the stress. It is a great way to recalibrate. It's an opportunity for probably deeper breaths than you ever take throughout your day. Stretching your muscles, it does something really, really good inside your body, inside your brain. So yes, exercise is absolutely a stress reducer as long as you are not overdosing yourself with it. And that's really what it boils down to. If you're creating too many parameters around, the ways in which you move and exercise, work out, then you are creating more stress. It is another thing on your to-do list, which is why it's so important for us to find ways to sprinkle movement into our lives and not try to restructure our whole lives to now adopt a exercise routine. That will always be stressful. And I did that for years. Like, how can I fit in an hour? It's like, you don't need an hour in most cases. Ideally, you start with a little bit and you might want to do an hour because it's so enjoyable and you've made space for it, but you can't start there. You have to start with, small sprinkles of movement, finding things that bring you joy, layering with other activities, and then yes, it starts to become a way to reduce your stress and not add to it.
I think if exercise produces stress in your life, then you've got to focus on making a mindset shift.
Yeah.
From I have to to I get to.
Yeah.
Or I should to I want to, right? And if something is on our to-do list that we get to do or we want to do, then it's not adding stress to our lives. If something is on our to-do list and it's something I have to do or I should do, it's adding stress and guilt and shame to our lives, especially if we don't fulfill that, right?
Yeah.
And so again, I think a lot of these same answers are very similar. We need to come back to, why are we doing this in the first place? Are we doing it because we hate ourselves, because we want to change the way we look? Or are we doing this because we value ourselves and want to take care of our bodies? And if that's the case, I took your toothbrush away for 5 days, you would get to brush your teeth. You would want to brush your teeth. But if you could do this from exercise and you can have that same energy, then I think it'll make a huge difference on people's lives and it won't feel like stress, right?
Absolutely.
And of course, the physical side of it is really important. Like for me in particular, sometimes I have a lot of excess physical energy and the best way to not turn that into anger and resentment and all these things that are manifesting in your life that really aren't happening is just to get that energy out of my body.
Yeah.
And so I really love to have that as a tool if you're capable to use that as a tool to get that energy out because it's really helpful. Okay, 8. How do I handle comparison when I see other women doing more than me? Ooh, we've talked about comparison a bit here, but you might be a better one at answering this than me.
I think that comparison is the thief of joy. I think comparison is the thief of progress. I think comparison is the thief of perspective. And when we allow ourselves to focus on what other people are doing, it's like they have their own match, their own game, their own course, their own path, and we're looking at them and we're completely losing our sight and our way. And so it's very dangerous to compare yourself to other people. We don't live inside anyone else's body or psyche. Like, we don't know what they've gone through. We don't know what they're dealing with. We don't know anything about their genetics. Like, we are just seeing something from a very superficial standpoint and being like, dang, I wish, dang, why don't I, dang. And it's very childish, to be honest, but we all do it as adults. Like, I am not above comparisons, been there, done that many a days, but it's wildly unhelpful. It is wildly unhelpful to spend your energy focused on what other people are doing or what other people look like and expect somehow for your life to get bigger and for you to be stronger and for your life to be more beautiful and pleasant. I think we shrink ourselves when we sit around and compare ourselves to what someone else is doing or how someone else looks. And it's kind of what we talked about in another episode. It's almost disrespectful to, how in the way in which you were created, like, you're you for a reason. It's like a Dr. Seuss book. Like, you're you, they are them, and we are not supposed to be attempting to be the same or getting closer to, being more homogenous. Like, we should be embracing the differences between ourselves and other people and not focused on how I can be more like that person or do more of what they're doing. Your path is your path and it's unique to you. And, I just think we should honor that for ourselves. Way easier said than done because, the world is set up for us to compare. But it's just unhelpful to your goals at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that if people are stuck in comparing themselves to other people, then I want to just be really simple and clear here because there's some facts rooted in wisdom that are just the reality. And this may not be the most gentle way to say this, but how do you handle comparison? You stop comparing yourself.
You do.
Right? That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Now, again, that's not easy. But what's the first step? Awareness. I'm comparing myself right now. Stop. How do I stop comparing myself to other people? How do I stop comparing myself to previous versions of myself or my future expectations of myself? And then replace that comparison with something you're grateful for that you're doing to show up for yourself. And the brain works just like the body. If you take 1,000,000 steps wrong, then you're going to have so many neural grooves that facilitate those steps being wrong that it's going to be really hard to correct the way you walk. If you think comparison thoughts 1,000,000 times, it's going to be hard to unwind that.
Yeah.
Does it mean it's impossible? No. And what's the solution? Repetition.
Yeah.
And the more repetitions we do, the stronger those new neural grooves get, and the more likely we are to quickly notice our comparison, quickly stop our comparison, and quickly replace it with gratitude for who we are in the present moment.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
yeah. All right, number 9. Is it too late for me to feel strong and capable?
Of course not.
Ooh.
Go ahead. Take
I'll take this one. Okay, so we have a lady in our community named Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've had Ellen on your calls before,
sure
but she's in her mid-80s. And what I love about Ellen is she is using the We-Shape workouts and stretching routines because they are scalable all the way down to her level. Mm-hmm. She walks with a walker and she jumps on the live coaching calls and she asks me the most beautiful questions like, how do I stand up from a chair using a walker more easily, right? And just by changing the way that she's kind of moving and distributing her weight on her feet and placing her arms and stuff, we can make her life easier and more enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And that's without having to actually see a noticeable gain in strength and flexibility. It's really just more about movement quality and coordination, like your strategy for moving your body throughout your daily life. And so I have become incredibly confident over the years that almost anybody, even all the way up until nearly the very end, you can help somebody move differently in a way that will likely make them feel more free in their body than they currently feel. And so yeah, it's not too late. And I really think this is not just my opinion. This is backed by a lot of research now where you can gain muscular strength, bone density, tendon and ligament strength well into your 90s as long as you're doing things that are appropriate for your body, as long as you're taking baby steps and doing things that are right for you and aren't going to cause any issues that obviously could work against this.
100%. I agree. I don't think that there is ever a point at which you can't gain something. And it doesn't have to be, it's not like I'm saying you're 80 and you're going to, all of a sudden be a fitness competitor. Maybe. But really, you can absolutely gain strength. Any effort you put toward fitness, toward strength training, toward taking better care of your body, you will see positive results from it. I just think, again, it's important to maintain your expectations and not put too much on yourself, and to be content and accept where you are in the process and just build slowly. This is not a race. What are we racing for? What are we rushing to? Nothing, So this is going to improve your quality of life, but it will take some energy and effort and some patience. So absolutely, it's not too late.
Anybody can do it. If you can move, you can improve, right? That's good. I like that. If you can move, you can improve. We're going to keep that one in for all of our social media videos. Okay, last question. How can I build trust with my body after years of diets, programs, and quick fixes?
This is a long answer. I'll try to keep this short. Building trust with your body requires you to let go of all of the external messaging that you have been programmed to believe.
You're not enough.
Yep. You have to let go. You have to, I look at it, if anyone has not read the Intuitive Eating book by Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch, I highly recommend it because it was a great sort of starting point in walking away from diet culture for me, because it changing the way, usually with diet stuff, it's food and movement, right? So those are usually the two things we have to break down and sort of redefine. And the food one had, I think, a bigger hold on me in some ways. And so one of the concepts they talk about in the book is giving yourself unconditional, permission with food, and letting go of the hope of diets and weight loss. And just that one concept of letting go of this hope, it was like, what? You want me to give away the thing that forced inside of me that I've been holding on to for 30 years? And it's like, well, yeah, if you look back 30 years, honey, all you've done is lost weight and gained it back, lost weight, because you've been on this cycle, focused on the wrong thing. So for me, getting to a place where you're at peace and at home in your body, you have to let go of that desire to change your body. You have to just let it go, because we have to replace those old hopes and dreams with new hopes and dreams that are more rooted in positivity and more rooted in neutrality and more rooted in things that are deep and meaningful and not superficial. So now, instead of my body needs to be smaller, it's like, I need to take better care of my body. I want to take better care of my body. I love my body. My body is my home. My body has carried me through these things. So it takes us back to gratitude, right? This idea of appreciating what our bodies have done for us and being able to be respectful and kind to our bodies. But we have to get to a point where the diets and the messaging from diet culture no longer have a hold on us. And it's really hard to silence that noise because it's everywhere. A lot of times I tell my clients to start with social media, like unfollow all the accounts that's pulling you back into that space of like, I want my body to look like her, or 21 day, change to your body. Like all of that stuff that's like just bringing you down into that dark place. Just, unfollow, mute, and start to curate a feed where you see more, weight neutral approaches to fitness. And so now we're going to take all of that energy that we put into diet culture, and I got to lose weight, and I got to change my body, and I got to eat differently, and I got to work out this, Now it's going to be like, gosh, I want to take really good care of myself. I want to make sure I'm flexible. I want to feel like I'm strong. I want better endurance. I want to be able to move better and have a better quality of life. And how can I achieve those things without any focus on what my body looks like or what size it is? And that is a whole process of unlearning, relearning, unlearning, and sort of divesting from, the machine, the diet culture machine that says, pay this money, do this program, you'll look like this in the end. Let's take your before pictures and your after pictures. Let's take your measurements and your... It's a whole new lifestyle, and it takes a while to build it. But once you start the process, you'll start to see how beautiful it is, and you can make peace in your body, feel at home in your body, learn how to respect and honor your body. And this whole fitness thing won't even really be about aesthetics or what your body looks like anymore. It'll be about how you feel and what you're able to do.
Yeah. I think that people who are listening need to ask themselves a question. And maybe that question could be like, let's pretend your goal is to start a routine. Maybe a month from now, you're going to be 10 pounds lighter and you're going to fit in like a pant size smaller. And then you get through the month, and now we're at the end of the month, and you gain 5 pounds and your pants are a little extra tight. But you did all the work. But since you were focused on the outcome, you feel really bad about yourself, right? And you don't trust yourself because you're not fulfilling, quote unquote, the promises you make to yourself. But those are sometimes promises you don't necessarily have control over.
Right.
Like you say a lot, bodies change as we age. And so let's reframe that question. Let's pretend you're saying to yourself, I want to show up for myself and really care for my body over the next 30 days. And each day I'm going to wake up and say to myself, what can I do to do just some small act of kindness and self-care to my body over these 30 days? And you just did it. And at the end of the 30 days, when you look back, you thought to yourself, man, I really showed up most of these days. And some of these days, like I really showed up for myself. How do you feel now?
Right.
You feel good. You feel good because you kept the promises to yourself. And those promises are things that you actually have more control over. Right? And throughout that process, you're not trying to control an imagined outcome that you can't control. Instead, you're doing the things that you can do to show your body love, respect, and kindness that you can control. And I think if we can let go of these outcome-based goals and get back to these process-based goals, which is like, I'm going to wake up today and say, what can I do today to care for my body? And then at the end of that month, look back and say, wow, look, I actually showed up and took care of myself, and feel really proud of that. Now I'm going to build confidence and trust and kindness and respect for myself. And I think it's so easy to get stuck believing that we have to achieve this goal at the end, otherwise we were worthless. Right. You have no idea how many people have joined our challenge, which is about learning how to take care of yourself and feel good, and tell us about other challenges they've joined. And these other challenges are, if you don't look this certain way, then you don't get your deposit back at the end of it, right? Like there's crazy things. And so I think it's just so important that we change the way that we're approaching treating ourselves, away from, I'm doing this so I can change this and that, to I'm just taking care of myself because I feel worthy on the inside. So, that's what I think about building trust with your body.
Yeah. And the more, it's a muscle.
Yeah.
The more you
Repetition.
practice it, the more you build it. So, 100%.
Well, awesome. I hope you all enjoyed these 10 questions and 10 answers. And I really hope that they inspired, not motivated, inspired you to show up for yourself each day and just say, hey, how can I care for myself today? And then when you do tiny little acts, even if it's just 1 minute of movement that you wouldn't have normally done, show yourself some gratitude because you deserve it, okay?
Absolutely.